That's what I blew you up about today. Several agreements.
Rich, anybody? I have a Sergeant Rich in here.
I guess the CDC's recommended.
Let's see.
I can't remember if that's who I used before or not. I don't
We'll
know.
go right back down the road, we can.
I know.
I'm not. Dang, right. What's that?
We'll apply for that, Jack.
Oh, yeah,
We want the Phoenix University to get on. I feel like I'm sitting next to Is it more to it then? Hey, it's 6:31. Are we ready? Are we live? Everyone ready? Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for an invocation? Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, as we gather this evening, we thank you for this wonderful town that we reside in. We thank you for the fine people that live here. And we thank you for the privilege of allowing us five to serve this town. And we ask for your strength, courage, and wisdom in all of our decisions. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. We're going to call to order the August 3rd meeting of the Mooresville Town Council. Gentlemen have had a chance to read the minutes from our previous meeting. I need a motion to either approve or amend the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as written from July 20th, 2021.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Dustin Gregg, 5-0. Under unfinished business, I had, oh, wait a minute. Do we have, oh, gentlemen, I apologize. We also have minutes from our executive session held prior to that. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the executive session.
Motion to approve the minutes for the executive session.
Motion has been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Greg Dustin, 5-0. We had originally talked when the Joe Johansson came in from the traffic study, with the traffic study information. We gave him kind of a synopsis of what we wanted to see more of. He was still working on, it was Thursday, I believe, of last week. He called and was still working on the pedestrian issues in front of Newby. He said, I think maybe I can get this through, and I think it's too important to push it through. He asked if we could move it to our next meeting, and I told him yes. But since we had scheduled him for this meeting, I figured we needed an update from him.
Did he give you an update on the cost? I know that we thought it was in the scope of work, and he said no.
Well, right now, what he's looking at is what information they do have, and he seems to think that I'm kind of a tightwad. I don't know where he would have ever got that, but I kept saying, is this, or you're still able? And he said this is still information that they've gathered.
Okay.
So I think we're still good right now.
Yeah, we have.
And a time that we all look forward to every year. We have it is at the end of our contract with our health insurance company. And I think this evening we have Dean Mayfield here with us, with Mayfield Insurance. Dean, would you want to come up to the front?
Same thing.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
signature.
And the notes here. Thank whoever got me on first, because I was last year, and it was about 3 hours. This year, 2021, 2022, renews September the 1st. Just some notes that I made. Through 10 months, the town has spent $2.1 million, which includes $702,000 in reimbursements from the stop-loss carrier. This compares to 12, so it's 10 months. So through 12 months, the prior year, we spent $2,059,000 and got $886,000 back. So we've had two pretty horrific years from a claim standpoint. And so through 10 months of this year, we still have 2 more months to go of claims. We've already spent more than we did all of last year. So that's not good. Pharmacy costs for the 10 months were right at $300,000 versus $368 the prior 12 months. Actually, our pharmacy cost has gone down a little bit, not as much as it should, but some. And the cost per member is $33,673 versus $27,460 the prior year. So the town's costs are up significantly based on claims. We implemented a new program last year at this time, which was effective the first of the year, called ElectRx, which we looked at a list of prescriptions that were more expensive, mostly injectables, but not all of them, and had a list of people, employees, dependents that were on those particular prescriptions. We reached out to them individually and asked that they might consider going to this voluntary plan. It was a pretty slow, and it was a January 1 effective start date from September, so we had about 3 months to try to implement. I can tell you, met with several, talked to some, but the reception was not very good. As I shared with the insurance committee the other day, we got off to a pretty slow start. January we filled 1, and February we filled 1. March was a little better, and April, May, and June. But 6 people signed up out of about 240 that are on the plan. Not all 240 needed to be on this plan. About 35 maybe, based on the type of prescription. But with just the 6 and really a very short window, I'm going to call it 3 months because it was really March when we filled more than 1 prescription. We saved $44,586. So at the insurance committee meeting, there was a suggestion that we need to ramp that up, and Councilman Cook has reached out to department heads, and I can tell you that I've heard from most of the people that were on the list. Either they've contacted me or I've emailed them, and I think there's probably 2 that I still need to hear from. So we're going to have a list, which I'll share with the insurance committee. If we don't get participation, we'll share that and we'll figure out another strategy of how we want to go about that. But I think what was done is working. So it got their attention. A couple of high points. We're in the Cigna network, and the town saved 37.4%, or about $1.2 million, because of network discounts. So that has worked extremely well. It's the broadest network out there. The bad news is about 10 people accounted for $1.5 million in claims costs last year. So it is what it is. So the ER visits were down. We went from 45 to 35, so I think the teledoc that we implemented a couple years ago, although it was with kicking and screaming that they didn't want to do that, once they have done it, they like it. It's easy, it's convenient. And actually I got a report, more females are using it and more for kids. So, but that's good, because those were the ones that were taking them to the ER, and we were spending $1,300 for an ER visit for an earache. Now it's $50 for a Teladoc visit, so it's more convenient, and we're saving some money. I think it was about $20,000 in savings through nine months. So the urgent care visits were up a little bit, but the retail visits, like a CVS pharmacy, were down. So Teladoc, because of the success, yesterday they reached out and said, well, we have another component which we could add to the plan, and it's a mental health component. And given the trend that I've seen with my clients on group health, and actually it's a nationwide thing of more mental health stuff, probably a lot of it was COVID related, but not necessarily. I would like to suggest that we add that feature to our Teladoc contract. The cost is 70 cents per member per month. It's about a $600 a year cost to the town based on 72 people. So I would like to do that. It's not something we talked about at the insurance committee meeting because I just got it yesterday. So, but now for the good news, bad news. Last year we were with Northwind as our carrier, and our total cost, including all the extra deductibles that were placed on last year for people, the maximum that the town could have spent was $3.5 million to $23,559. 3.523595. The renewal from Northwind is $4.5 million. It's horrible. Most of that is one individual that they wanted to put a really high laser deductible on, and I went back 3 different times and said that's ridiculous. I'll just say that because I think anything else would be bad. Anyway, they wouldn't budge. They said that's it, and so the other carriers put a deductible on this particular individual, but at $100,000, which is where it was at last year. So, and I said it's ridiculous, and I told him, I said, I'm confident that we will switch. So we had 4 declines. We had IOA and Litchfield. Litchfield is part of Liberty Mutual, and that is the one that I am recommending we go with. They have more people that have deductibles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 versus 4 last year, and that's based on claim history, medical history. But the total, the maximum, which is what we always looked at for that contract, would be $3.561410. It's a $37,815 increase over last year's maximum. We didn't come anywhere close to the 3.5 this year. We probably won't be close to the 3.5 next year, hopefully. Hopefully we turn around and have a good year or two. So my recommendation is to switch from Northwind, go to Litchfield, and not make any changes to the stop-loss deductibles or the aggregate or any of that. No changes in the plan, other than I would like to add the mental health aspect to the Teladoc.
How about heart attacks?
To Teladoc.
To Teladoc, yeah. So, are there any questions?
What was your difference again?
$37,815. And considering that they've paid us back $886,000 or $702,000 this year.
We gave it to him first.
Yeah. Actually, I was kind of surprised because when I did the 6-month review, the trend was already horrible. So I was already prepared for something much worse than, I mean, the 4.5 wouldn't have been out of the line actually, but so we had a 3.5 and a 3.686. So those two were more in line with where I thought, where I'd hoped it would be. But
Any questions for Dean? Well, Jeff and I sit on the insurance committee, and I think I think you'd prep both of us for a lot worse than this 3 months ago. I think we were dreading the meetings. I think your recommendation was in line with what our hopes were. Jeff, your comments?
Yeah, I agree. In reference to your comments on the other employees, I probably talked to them today, so they should be giving you a call, or I'll give you a call and bring you up to speed on that, so.
it's actually, the response has been pretty good.
And I want to give Jeff 100% credit on that. I mean, that was, I think Jeff is just pointing out to them how bad it could be if we don't, I think the council, the taxpayers have tried to do as good as they can for the employees, and I think Jeff pointed out to them, I'm sure in a kind way, that
It was kind.
I don't think it was very kind.
My phone's been ringing off the hook. Let's just leave it at that.
And a couple of them I talked to where it was a dependent that was supposed to do the enrollment. The employee says, I thought they did that. And I go, nope. And I got phone calls from, I already know they're enrolled. So I've requested that, can I get a list weekly, every other week? And, we'll reconvene, probably the end of September and see how many have actually followed through and signed up. I got an email at 11:30 last night that said, we just signed up. So it's working. You had a lot more influence than I did.
I think it's a program that helps us help them.
Well,
without a doubt.
if we so there were 6 that were signed up, there was 25 more on the list, and that list could change because somebody might end up taking a prescription that they're not taking now, and all at once they're taking a $500 or a $5,000 a month. They're all over the place. They're not all the same. But if we get the majority of those 25 signed up, the savings on this plan, if you think about it, we saved $45,000 with almost no participation. It should be way over $300,000. And when we talked, I go, I don't know about you, but that's kind of real money. So I do appreciate your jumping in and doing that, because I was kind of at the end of what do I do
Right.
beyond what I've already done. So
you don't have the pleasing personality Jeff does. Right, Jeff?
I don't know. I'm with you, Kyle.
I think it was the
I had
reality.
his uniform on.
It was the reality. So, and again, making no changes in the program. I say this all the time, and when I meet with the employees, we don't have a Cadillac plan. We have a Rolls-Royce plan. I don't have another client. I don't even know of another place that has the benefits, the low deductibles, the low cost. I don't know of anybody. So even with what we had suggested, that would have still been a bargain. But not when you would have gone from $22.50 a pay period to whatever it might have been.
Right.
So, but yeah, I've stressed that, and when I met with them last year, and I'm happy to meet with them again if the department heads want me to do that again this year. I'm happy to do that and go through all of the different benefits that they have. And some of those benefits, unfortunately, we've used this past year, whether it would be a death claim or a disability claim. We've got people that have, had that, and we're very thankful that we did have those plans in place. I was thankful that we had those plans in place. Nothing worse than telling somebody, sorry, no, there's no coverage for that. So, yeah, you guys do a great job. You've kept the costs down to the employees. So, kudos.
Any questions for Dean? First off, I'd like to have a motion on renewing or signing a new contract with Litchfield UW Underwriters. Been made by Dustin. Do I have a second? Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Now, I would also like to add a motion, or see if there's a chance for a motion to add the mental health to Teledoc. I know this is something Dustin had worked on 3 years ago, or when you first went on, maybe?
Yeah,
With
it's been a minute, let me put it that
Yeah.
way.
So do I have a motion to have him go ahead and add the or do the administrative work to add that to it?
So moved.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Dustin, Jeff, 5-0.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Dean.
And ladies.
Next item on the agenda is Mooresville Cemetery Modernization Proposal.
Bandage put in this? Yeah. Okay. Thanks, sir. I do. Yeah, I just don't have a packet. Yeah, you can.
I don't need 3 copies. Save it.
You already have the PowerPoint?
They're in the
Oh, you
packet.
do? You have it, okay. Saving one, too.
They're in the packet.
And I mailed, so they have the full agreement.
You got it.
You're Mark, right?
Yeah, that's
And
me.
Beth, yeah.
How you doing?
Hi, I emailed this earlier to Diana.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay. I'd like to thank the council for having me today. My name is Mark Butler. I'm with Banning Engineering. I do, you probably see me up here for engineering things, but I also lead our geographical information group, GIS, at our company. And a little bit of history is Dave approached me about some issues that him and Julie were having at the cemetery, and kind of filled me in, and I thought about that and came up with a solution to possibly fixing these issues. So I'd like to propose that to you as a council tonight, and I have a small PowerPoint presentation that I'll go through fairly briefly and give you an opportunity to ask questions as we go through. So the PowerPoint is in your packet, so that's also up here on the screen. All right, so I see that there are 2 major issues with the cemetery, and the first is with the records. So the cemetery records, we took a look, and what we have is several pages of the older sections in kind of bad shape. So you look on the left is a picture of one of the sections that's actually not that old. It's from the 70s. And if you look really, really closely, you can see the names of those that are in the graves handwritten into all the spaces. But what's interesting is that this is the only copy, right, Dave? This is the only copy that we have, and obviously it's in bad shape. But when you take it out to the site, it's actually transposed and reversed. So it's flipped this way and it's flipped this way. So it's quite difficult to find out who is occupied where. Okay. On the right, we have our newest section, section, I believe it's 13, on the eastmost side, and it's got a nice drawing. And so we have a whole range of records, okay? But again, they're the only copies, and some of them are transposed, and we also have boxes and boxes of individual grave or plot records that are in Rubbermaid tubs and different things. And what would be really, really good is to take care of those records, duplicate them, copy them, digitize them, and have them in a central repository for easy access.
What do you mean by records, like deeds or what?
Records like a grave information card that has who purchased the plot, who's there, what.
So
when they
receipts?
died. Help me out a little bit, Dave. Those ones in the tubs. We also most of the records are like this.
I said, what's in the tubs? What's he mean by records?
They're the 4x6 index cards with the grave location, the plot, and all the individual graves. I think there's 8 graves per plot.
Yeah.
So they're all handwritten.
So there's information in the tubs that aren't on this map,
Right.
this cruddy map?
Well, it's yeah, and it's hard to fit everything on one map.
Right.
So that's why they go with the cards and things like that. So,
That's just one section.
Right.
On the left is just one section. We have 18 different sections.
yeah. So record keeping. The second part about a block is, I'm going to explain this a little bit. The second issue is that the corner monuments for the grave sections, many of them are missing, have been hit, destroyed, gone, whatever you might say. So, and the reason those are important is because that's how you know where the grave space is located.
Are
Okay.
those like surveying pins or?
Yeah, like pins or a stake of some kind.
Okay.
What's the most common one out there, Dave?
Most common are hollow tubes made out of steel, but there's a lot that are wooden stakes that are practically gone. We're very lucky to find them sometimes. We find them,
Yeah,
in fact, we don't.
right. And so the process is when a grave needs to be dug, then they would locate the corner, then measure off to where, from the corner to the grave of interest, right? And then that's where you would dig out your 4x8 spot, okay? And so what's important to know is that if those aren't there, as I interpret it, the law is that the grave space is where the person is, not where the person is supposed to be, if that makes sense. So it's not based on how you laid out the cemetery, it's where the person actually is. And so if the corners are gone, then it can be difficult to track and easy to maybe overlap or put them in the wrong spot. It's hard to manage. So these corner monuments are basically the golden, record, if you will. Okay. So those are the two issues that we're looking at. So I think that I just put this up here. I agree with the quote here that says that it's important that we take an all hands on deck approach, and that's kind of why I came up with this approach and ran it by Dave and some others to see how we can keep these records better, how we can do this better, and make it solid for years to come. And how can we open up the records to public access, the ones that we're able to do, like who is buried there, and can you find your ancestor, for example. Okay, so what we're proposing is to have this all hands on deck approach is to first partner with the town to digitize all these records. Okay, we want to scan all those in. So if there were ever an event like a flood or a fire or something, that those are digitally backed up. Okay, it's important that when you digitize something, the file name can be something really, really important, right? Because you need to find that. Well, what's even better is let's go ahead and put that file in a place where you can find it geographically. So let's put it in a map format, okay? So I put in a little snip up in the corner here. If you had a map that you could click on that space and recall all the files associated with that space, wouldn't that be really cool? Similar to a Google map, right? But all the information is now embedded in that space. So what we're proposing is to create a map as such and have it for two reasons. We would first do one that is for administration purposes. So town staff would track the sale and status of the grave sites, okay, through one map that's private. and then be able to have a digital twin, like a second map, that could be posted on the website somewhere of the council's choosing to open up data for the public to access. Maybe they want to find someone that's been buried, and what information does the town have on that person or grave, if you will. Okay.
Put a picture of the stone with it.
Sure can. So the attachments that you can have on there are almost unlimited. You can have PDFs, you can have pictures, you can have text files, documents, pretty much anything. You could put videos if you wanted, but I don't think it'd be appropriate for this. So,
Is that the photos, is that something you're doing as well? Is that part of this?
no, but it can be done, and I'll show you how it can be done. Okay. So, all right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what the administrator access map would look like by kind of walking through what it would look like to go ahead and have someone buy a spot in the gravesite. So I'm going to switch over to my tablet because this is the app version of the map. So Julie or Dave would meet with the person out on site. So you're seeing on the screen what I'm seeing right here on my app. So it's just mirroring. And I'm using my finger to go ahead and zoom in. Whoa. Let's see if it likes me today. Okay, so just for an example, the red represents graves that are occupied. The yellow would represent graves that are purchased but not yet occupied. And the green are graves that are available. Okay, so I'm going to click on one grave that I happen to have some sample data in there for today's discussion. So here it pulls up ones that are close to where I put my finger. And so the red one is Earl, okay? And so it has this person, some information about the person, section, block, and plot. That's how the cemetery is categorized. Something we think is kind of neat is there's a website that is very popular among genealogists called Billion Graves. And this cemetery has been mapped by Billion Graves staff, and each grave has a page associated with it. So we thought it would be cool if we could link this to the Billion Graves site, and so that's what we've done. So the little link is combined in there, so it kind of goes to that.
So there's your image. Yeah.
And there's an image right there. Yeah.
So the link is part of what you're proposing here.
Yeah. So what we would do is we would create a script to automatically generate the links. And we would work with the town to put in the Billion Graves ID. We would need a little bit of help there to make that happen, but with the ID, then we can make the link through the computer software. So just to show you, I went from details to attached, and I happened to be out there, so I thought I'd take the picture so I could show you that it's obviously attached there. Okay? And if we had a grave record, like one in the bin, this could be, it's an example of a grave record that you can have attached there. Okay? So if someone were to come up and approach the town to purchase a spot, the staff person would click on the spot that they want to buy, and then they would go and edit that by hitting the pencil in the bottom corner. Sorry. And then they would take and change the status of the spot from available to purchased. And now it turns yellow. Okay? So on the front cover of your slides, there's a QR code. That QR code is active to this map. And if you could take a picture of it on your phone, for example, right now, and you'll see that as soon as I hit submit, it will turn yellow on each of your maps, because this is a cloud-based system. So it's instant upgrade, or instant updates. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Dustin. At least you could prove that I'm not blind.
I was going to do it on the first slide, but
Okay, so I'm going to hit submit. Things I think suggest for a person to do is when you write up your receipt that person went ahead and purchased that spot, you would take a picture with your phone and attach it directly to that spot. Okay, So then you have the record of the purchase tied to the grave, okay? So there's no confusion. This is definitely purchased, and here's why, because I have a receipt signed this date, blah, 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 okay? So that's kind of a nice feature there. So we did this section as kind of a sample, okay? So now what I'd like to do is switch back to the computer and show you what the public map would look like. Okay, so I went over the administrator access map. So now the public access map would look like this. So just imagine that you are on the website and you click a link, and this is what would open up. There's some information there to how to contact the administrators, and then you can then, zoom in. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. There we go. Something that we thought would be fun is we know of a Eagle Scout project that was done in the cemetery not too long ago to identify veterans that are buried in the cemetery. And we thought it would be a nice addition to take that data and put it into this map. So this medallion here would represent someone that is a veteran, okay? And, we put some just sample data and maybe a surface picture of that person. So there's a lot of capability in this map that you can build in over time. And our plan is that we set everything up and provide support as needed, but we go ahead and train the staff on how to do this and the possibilities of what can be done. And then they can go ahead and run wild with it. So you can kind of see that the public would be able to see, yeah, we don't have this all filled out with information, obviously, but the public would be able to see a certain set of data that we would want them to see, as well as the attachments, just like I pulled up, on the tablet. So.
Would the funeral home have any input to this, like an obituary or anything like that, or
it could.
link to an obituary, or
Yeah.
if the family wanted it, I guess, or?
I suppose. I think it's a decision the town could make. Are we going to include that data or not? Or do we limit it just to official records, if you will? I use air quotes because, it's what you determine. But certainly you could have pictures, you could have all kinds of things attached to this if you wanted to.
Have you seen this set up in another community yet, or are we the first one?
A setup like this, I have not seen, but I have seen cemeteries that have been mapped with headstone locations. And there'd be a dot where a headstone is, and you can click on it and pull up some name, death date, things like that. But where you actually use the GIS to manage the cemetery, that's a new concept. So we've done this for lots of different things: storm, sewer, water utilities, power grids. We've done things for infrastructure, but I thought, hey, why don't we just apply the same principles for the cemetery? So
without being crude, is this something that you could maybe, I think you'd have to have a policy to handle this, but could you say, I don't know how to word this without sounding kind of obtuse or something, but could you sell a package, like say, for this package, you will put all this information into this for the family, or?
You could, I suppose. You could. I think.
Like I don't know what it would be, $10 for this and $20 for this and $30 for this, or this is free and then this is.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know if that's something you could do to reimburse for your time.
There's administrative time
Right.
including the data.
Sure.
That would kind of be an à la carte service after the regular data's put in there.
Yeah, have a free base of data, and then if they want the obituary, if they want things.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to demonstrate how easy it is to attach things, you can do it from the computer, you can do it from your phone, you can do it from your computer at home. Because this is cloud-based, it'd be password protected and all that. So it's very easy to manage and put the data in. So the administrative time would be fairly small, but there is time. So, yeah, absolutely. So. All right, so what we have is our scope of the project is to use the layout records to recreate. I have 11 sections, but what I intend is for all the sections, is the entire cemetery, to recreate them all in a GIS format, okay? To create the editable cemetery map for data input, to create its digital twin for public access, and to train the staff on how to do it, and to help them digitize records, get those inputted. Julie's told me that she actually has a spreadsheet of a lot of this data already digital. And so we've looked at that a little bit, and we feel like there's a good chance that we can ingress that data automatically using our software. And so that hopefully will reduce a lot of the effort to get the names and dates and information into the system. The survey side is we have to follow the Indiana state statute to survey a cemetery, and that's a retracement survey. That is to reestablish all of the monuments. We'd like to use drone imagery to have a really nice image and capture the locations of all the headstones that way, and get those also into the GIS. So it's a high accuracy image from the drone that we can then lay as the backdrop of the cemetery. So that there's a lot of work in the survey side as well, because that's all ground survey work. So and the most important part I almost forgot is to reestablish all of the monuments. So we would put new steel pins with caps and protective covers so that those monuments do not disappear ever again. So that's the plan. So I'd like to open it up for questions. I've taken too long probably, so I appreciate your time.
Now, would you like to make a model of the cemetery and then, do your regular, run off a benchmark and coming up with all your plots and?
Yeah, exactly. We would set up a local control system in the cemetery. So if any of the monuments were ever to get lost again, you could just you don't have to redo the survey. You just put it back in based on the data. So, yeah.
Yeah, we're just getting started with GPS on our equipment.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is. It is amazing. It is amazing. So, yeah, to your point, so basically these two components would solve the record keeping problem, as it would create new policies and procedures to make that right. The second would be you'd never lose your cemetery again as far as like where the monuments go. So our intent is to come in, take care of this in maybe about a 6-month or so design process, working with the town, and then we train and then we move back out. Our intent is to kind of do this as a one-time thing, and then we are just in a support role from then on. The software to do this is do you know if you still have that ArcGIS software still that you pay for?
Pretty sure we do, yeah.
Okay, so the software you already have and pay for as a town. So we're just going to be training you on how to set it up. So.
Pretty sure?
If you don't, the cost is $500 annually, which is pretty inexpensive from a software perspective. So that would give you the password and account to host and manage everything. So.
Now, would the plots, would that show up on Elevate also?
It can.
If it was.
It certainly can. What would have to happen is you take the data and take a copy of it and send it over to Beacon,
Yeah.
who now owns Elevate,
Okay.
and then they could post it up there for you.
Yeah.
But it won't be a live link to where if Dave makes a addition and then, it wouldn't be live, but
Yeah.
you could send it quarterly, for example.
Yeah.
It's the exact same format.
billiongraves.com.
Yeah.
Have they done the ones that are already sold? I mean, is that part of it already done?
The ones that are sold but not occupied?
No, the ones that are sold and occupied.
Yes. I can't really vouch for, if they've done absolutely everything, but it seems like everything I click on has pictures, and it seems like it's the whole thing. So,
So are we going to do their work again and then double check it, or, I mean, how are we going to make sure that our information or will you make sure your information and their information is exactly the same, or are you just going to use their information?
we're not going to use their information. What we intend to do is just link the two, because they have on their site ways to look up additional records. So like, say the father's buried, there could be a link to the mother, for example, nearby in the cemetery or next door, where we would not have those family tie and links in our system. So it's a way to get out into the larger genealogy, group, I guess. So they have a unique ID for each of their plots. And what we intend to do is make sure that the ID matches the correct plot, and then we're going to link it and then move on. So really, there needs to be a clause there that the town is not responsible for Billion Graves' identification or accuracy or anything like that. So
Where they just show you the general area, you will be actually plotting that piece of
Yeah.
ground.
yeah, exactly.
Because, when somebody.
It's an actual survey.
Yeah, if I can show you. Let me see if I can show you what that actually looks like. They don't have a lot of information as far as location goes. You're correct. So this is the best they have, is they have an image with a pinpoint, which is actually pretty close. Whereas we have the location down to,
You have to
the
have that
centimeter or whatever.
to be able to
Mhm.
know where to.
Right, because we have more
Place the
purposes
person.
for this than they do. It's more of just a, I'll say a hobby, So they have, what's nice is they have this piece where they have birth records and marriage records and death records, and like a timeline, and different things that could be useful to someone looking for their ancestor. So,
Let's just be real for a second, too. The town should know, it probably already does, that in 2019, there was a person who was buried in the wrong plot and had to be exhumed and moved. So hopefully this would solve that problem going forward, and that's the most important thing, is to get it right for the families.
right.
So no one's mentioned that, but the quote that you quoted here was a result of that horrific incident, and I think something needs to be done about it.
All right. Any more questions? I appreciate the time, and if there are no further questions, I'm done. So,
Comments from the council?
obviously it's a good program. I mean, with our records, how we've been keeping them for years past. I mean, I can remember Eddie Bucker sitting back there with his own little notes, keeping track, you know? And this is obviously pretty high tech, you know, and it seemed pretty user friendly also. Just what I've seen so far. I mean, I'm obviously impressed with it.
Comments?
I'm all for it.
It's a good idea. We just about have a wing over there in our family.
I like the program. I'll throw you under the bus, Mark. I've met with you 2 or 3 times to try to push more and more out of this program. You keep saying the bill gets higher. I want it to go lower, and I want more, so I appreciate the little extra efforts that you've made over the last month or so. However, I still don't like the price.
I think we had a coupon. A rewards card that was stamped.
Last week's paper.
Yeah, where'd that rewards card from Bannon go? There's really 2 parts. I mean,
2 parts.
well, there's 3. There's the survey, the initial data input, and then the package.
Even though this says 11, you're talking all 13 though, right?
Yeah. We finished the entire cemetery.
In the agreement, the full agreement, it has hourly wages and hourly set fees, schedule of fees. I mean, do you foresee other work above and beyond this?
I do not. That is to be considered a not to exceed amount.
Okay.
Yeah. So if there is an addition to the scope, we would approach the staff and the council if that were to come up. So, yep.
Do you see any cost savings anywhere through here? I'm going to keep pushing.
No. I'm just kidding.
Go away.
No. I think that if we could have, let's see, what could make it go faster, okay, is for, let's see, if we were to not do the survey part or the drone part until the leaves are off, okay? So what happens is then when we fly the drone and the leaves have fallen in November, then we can see the headstones through the trees with high, imagery. We don't have to go back and collect them by hand. So if we can wait on the drone part until November, is that about November time? Then I think we can take some amount off of the survey side, if that's okay. I mean, we would have to go without the high.
6 months. Fall's right around the corner, I think. It's like 95.
Yeah, no, that's true. So if you're okay with us doing that, then I think we can take some off of the survey part. I don't know how much. I can't really do that right here in the council meeting. So, but yes, we would be willing to have a deduction for that. Okay.
Where do we pay for it? Cash reserves.
Look, I'm trying.
Comments or questions?
I'm good.
I think it's a fantastic program. Impressive. Be nice to be able to say that we have done everything that we can do. Can we pay for it after it's done?
You're on your own. You said you told me no.
We'll present this on QVC and we get four easy payments.
I was gonna say, can we
Actually,
trademark this idea and sell it?
6 easy
We fund anything. Was there any thought, anybody have any thoughts on funding?
I don't.
I'm thinking, is anyone here from the park? I'm thinking we use Parks money. Oh,
Hey,
wait a
they're not
minute, there
here.
is someone here from the park. Dang, nabbit, run next. Did we budget anything out of Riverboat for this year?
No.
So would we have to additional appropriate? We wouldn't have to additional appropriate that, would we?
Because we're in budget time. We can just set it in our budget.
We, in our line 242 Riverboat, we have approximately $344,000 in there, and we could say that we let the gamblers pay for it if we did that. We would have to additional appropriate out of it because we did not budget that because we were concerned with having a balanced budget last year. So we would have to additional appropriate that. We could additional appropriate it for next year's if we could talk banding. We're letting them wait until the leaves are off. They should let us wait until the trees bud to pay them. Show of hands?
You may not have a job tomorrow.
I mean, that's my only concern is the funding part of it. We don't have enough, and Dave, help me out here. How many plots do we have there?
How many is
Available?
available?
200?
2,500,
2,500?
probably, yeah.
So, I mean,
Throughout all 13?
available.
Okay.
Okay, so,
The Georgia section all the way to the east, that's quite large.
Okay.
Maybe 1,800. I
Okay.
think we started with 2,500. Did you do that? Wow. I think we started with 2,500 there, and we sold a bunch.
so obviously it's gonna go on for years. You know, the concern has always been that we're gonna run out of money to maintain it. We currently use some of our edit funds to pay for the maintenance of it, so we really don't have anything to, perpetual maintenance fund or anything to take that out of. But that would be one place where we could take it as the riverboat. I need either a motion to approve, deny, or table.
I'd make a motion to move forward with the Banning Engineering contract to modernize the cemetery, not to exceed $66,720.
I was gonna say, go low, go low.
Motion been made, do I have and
Out of
funding source?
Riverboat. Out of Riverboat, but we'll have to go through the appropriation process.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
you and I finish the legal tomorrow?
Yeah.
And then I'll send the final document to Tom for signature.
No problem. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll get you next time, Mark.
Holloway Engineering, John Larison.
Thanks, Mark.
I think that was a big deal.
Oh, huge. Money.
It is a lot of money, but it's
That's what's what we doing.
better than a bucket of.
You're always very well prepared, thank you.
I know.
That's fine, I don't care.
You count in our hearts. Like I tried.
You guys are decently nice to me.
And sure.
John,
Thank you very much for just a few minutes of your time. I'll try to be just as brief as possible. I'm here on behalf of Jerry Hine. Jerry is the owner of 17.2 acre parcel at 13366 North Slide Off Road. I've given you a couple of aerial photos. One shows you the general area of the property, and the other is a close-up to show you the vicinity and also show you the proximity of this property to North Madison Crossing. Our goal for the 17 acres is to divide the existing very old home off of the rest of the property. And I've got a preliminary copy of a plat that we would like to submit next month to the Plan Commission if possible. It shows the division of the property, and you can see that the old house is on Lot 1 with 0.8 acres. Mr. Hine's goal is to divide this existing quite old house off with as little property as possible. And in doing so, keep in mind it's a very old house and also a very old septic field. We don't have records of any recent updates to the septic field, so we can expect that it's not only dated, but probably only marginally functioning. So what we'd like to do is ask the town if we could hook onto the sanitary sewer. The existing sewer is across the street, catty corner in North Madison Crossing, and it is on the second lot that you see in your enlarged, sorry about that, on the enlarged aerial in a utility easement. Mr. Hine and Jonathan Young, who farms for him, have approached Sweeney Development, and Daryl Sweeney has assured them that he could directional bore a 2-inch line, forced main, tie into that sanitary sewer, and we just have a single grinder pump, compact grinder pump package placed at the house to handle the sewage. The larger map shows you the contiguous boundaries of the town. We are obviously quite a ways outside of the corporate limits, so that's why we're here tonight, just for a preliminary approval or disapproval to see whether or not we can go forward and expect sewer service.
You're at the second lot here, and is it at the back of that?
No, it is in the front of it. The existing manhole, that is a recently newly constructed house, and the manhole sits out in front of the house in the utility easement.
There is a dedicated utility easement here.
Does the sewer hookup go into East Arrival Parkway? Is that where it would go?
Where's that, what's that? Is that-
The existing
What's
sewer
your-
is on the north side of East Arrival Parkway on the second lot to the east.
Right here.
It sits in front of that house in a dedicated utility easement. Mr. Hines' goal is to separate it and lose as little farm ground as possible. They're dedicated farmers. There is absolutely no plan to develop it at this time, or we would expand. We would go with an 8-inch expansion to the system. But again, there is no plan to further subdivide or develop.
So you would go, you get this right, figure this out here. You would go west to Slide Off, down Slide Off, past the church, or into the church, under the church's first drive there, and then come straight across there?
Yes, we would, and we are aware that we're going to need to talk with the county as well to enter their right-of-way.
Well, I think, I mean, we fought this battle on 267 with the guy wanting to run his sewer lines and everything like that, and we've kind of made him, and I think you
I did
guys have
that.
drawn up some
Yeah,
stuff.
I did that
But
for
but
him.
he didn't bring it back signed by the actual property owner saying, hey, yes, we do agree to this. It was drawn up very nice. We knew exactly where it was going to be, but no one actually signed off and agreed to it.
He has to have an easement before he can act on that.
Right, and we would think that you would be, you would do the same, correct?
And I did prepare an easement in that instance for him to, I don't think they've moved forward yet, though.
No, I don't think the people that you drew the easement across their property, I don't think they've signed off on it. It's like,
Correct.
you know, we don't have a signed easement on these here either.
No, No, but we are in a dedicated utility easement here. That's the difference. This is a dedicated to the public and public utility companies' utilities. And again, we've got another hurdle with the county commissioners as well.
So gentlemen, it is a cart and horse scenario here. We've made one person get all of their easements and right-of-ways first, and then we said we would talk about that, and now we need to either do the same or say we can approve it contingent upon him bringing those. But I just want to be consistent on how we're treating everybody.
I think we did so, though, with the knowledge that we would allow it if he had all of his documentation.
Yeah, and we're really, the reason we're here tonight is we're not going to go forward any further with any of this if the town won't. We felt like this was the first stop. The next stop is to get the ducks in a row on the property and with the county commissioners as well. So,
If
your
that-
first stop.
If that corner lot sells, would they tie into that line that you're boring across there?
No, there's an existing lateral for that lot. In fact, I talked with Mr. Sweeney today about that. There already is an existing lateral in place for that lot.
But will this one tie into a manhole then?
There will be no manhole. It's a somewhat flexible 2-inch PVC line that will be run, can be cornered and directionally bored with precision.
So then who would maintain that is that?
The homeowner should be responsible for the 2-inch line and his own lift station. It's a private installation.
We're just running his lateral across,
No, he would run his own lateral.
well, I know, but I mean, we're allowing him to run a lateral across the road, across the front of the church, across the corner lot and then back in.
Yes, but interestingly, the church has dedicated right-of-way, has dedicated a dedicated right-of-way to the county or to the public. We did that minor plat, that was 25 feet wide. So we've got sufficient room in front of their lot.
Comments or questions?
We also understand that we need to provide a set of engineering plans for this that we will be back with to submit to you as well.
Okay, but again, just for my information, if sewage starts to back up in this house, they're not gonna call the town and say, hey, our sewer line stopped up here. They're gonna be responsible for that lateral or that 2-inch from their house to our main.
Absolutely. And I believe that that would have been the only way the town would ever allow that kind of an installation, because they're, really not even inspecting or overseeing the installation of it. So.
And that's, in years past, we would have said, no, you're gonna run a main all the way down to Slide Off, and then you're gonna run a main back towards the north.
Yeah, these E1 packages and the directional boring have changed the landscape for this kind of a situation.
For the better, you think?
I do. I think, especially in situations where people are desperate and don't have any alternatives.
Is there a motion to make tonight, or just,
Requesting permission to hook on.
but with the other gentleman, we never made a motion because we're waiting on the documents. So is this a consensus thing, or what, how would you recommend we word it if there is a motion to be made?
That it's contingent upon bringing back all the
Necessary easements? For a final vote, for a final vote, a second vote?
We would be happy to submit the plans subject to an outside review as normal. It's not that sophisticated a project, frankly, and that would add to the cost of it, but we'd be more than happy to.
Normally go through TAC.
I think it normally would just be presented probably to the Director of Public Works and the Town Council. And then I would think that Town Council would rely on their expertise and the Director of Public Works expertise, and I think that would normally suffice. But again, we're more than happy to submit for a review, which then our client would have to pay for if you feel like it's necessary. But frankly, it really is not a complex project at all.
What we're trying to avoid here is having to lop off enough to where a septic tank will go in there. Is that?
Yeah, they really are. This property is kind of unique as well, though. If you look at the north of Joyner, that's Mr. Lambert. Many of you probably know him. He recently sold this land and some other lands to Mr. Hine, and in doing so, he wanted to maintain the entire lake. So we've taken off 360 feet of the frontage of the parcel. And if we come back and we do 2 acres, which is the requirement for a lot on a septic, if we take 2 acres off of this property and do it in a way that we don't violate the length to width ratio we're left with probably about 150 feet of frontage on a 17-acre parcel, and that's limiting the property for the future quite a bit.
Not for farming, that you said they were planning on farming it.
Yeah, this family is a dedicated save the farmland type outfit. They're farmers.
Comments from the council?
Do you foresee any problems down the road with the county or anybody not willing to do this?
No, not at all. I'm not asking for approval for something that then the county might say no, and, we don't lose anything.
Sure.
In that instance. But no, we don't at all. I mean, it's, the reason this hasn't been done a lot more in the past is because the technology and the price has improved so much. I'll let you rely on Mr. Sweeney to kind of back that up. He probably will be able to get in and out of this thing for somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000. Maybe, yeah, I'd say right around 20,000. And, a modern septic field, some of them are pushing 25, and you're using the space, which you don't get back after it's been used for septic. It'd be pretty much useless for anything else. So we are going to see a lot of these, and you can look at your recent history and see the one that we recently did on 267 is a perfect example of somebody that really, really needs it. He doesn't have any decent alternative.
Right.
And he's got a really nice home site there, and this literally will make the home site viable again.
Indianapolis with Citizens, they use the E1s for the septic tank elimination program, and we put in hundreds of them up there ourselves. And
we installed this same system at Rolling Woods. It's adjacent to Rolling Vista. All 8 homes are on the same type of a system. That was in 1996, and we've never had an issue. So they've been out there for a little bit, but the cost is improving. So
Would the conditions include going to Plan Commission first to getting it plat before you bring it back here?
yeah, we would need both plat and rezone, because we're platting it and we're taking a 0.8 acre piece of ag parcel that has to be rezoned to residential. Only the lot 1, so we'll need both of those approvals as well.
Do you need any variances for
None.
setback? It looks like the garage is
Yeah,
awfully close.
Between the 2 garages, we're about, if I remember right, we're about 12 feet between.
I don't know what the
12
minimum
feet,
setback is.
12 feet each side, and I would ask if Mr. Moore is here. Side yard setback for an accessory building in residential?
5 feet, 6 feet.
I thought so. Yeah. So I think that we're fine on that. If there's anything that we would need, it would only be between the 2 buildings. I made the front setback for the garage match the ordinance. So,
So you just need Plan Commission approval and approval from the county.
and rezone. So we'd have to come back to you with a rezone and approval from the county for entering their right-of-way.
Described that earlier as a hurdle. Do you see it as a?
It is a hurdle. I expect that they probably will say that they will allow it, subject to the fact that if it ever needs to be moved, That would be the responsibility of the homeowner. That's what we expect, but we don't know that.
New technology. Like I said, used to, we would have said, yeah, you can do that if you want to run a main there, and if you want to offsite and oversize it, we will talk to you about that.
And I suspect that if they're not able to get this through, that's what they'll do. But this is just such a more economically attractive way to do it. And, it kind of goes to prove also their goal is they're not coming in next month to develop this property, or they would just file for a main extension. It's not their goal. It's not their plan. If it were, this would be a waste of money, actually.
Motions?
Make a motion to approve this it's contingent upon getting all the approvals from the county in place before we final approval.
And planning
And Plan
commission.
Commission.
And Plan Commission, I'm sorry.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second. Jeff beat it.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
I am, I'm going to oppose that. I don't know the technology that well. I apologize, gentlemen. I'm a little concerned with it. Thank you. Greg Jeff, 4-1.
4-1.
4-1.
Who's opposed?
You have, you got reason. You're up next, aren't you? You're up.
Very briefly, with this for Key Swap Realty, the property at 136 East Harrison Street is owned by Key Swap Realty. That is Lot 9 and Block 6 of Moore's First Subdivision. That property received a favorable recommendation for rezone from I-2 to R2 at the May 13th Plan Commission meeting. We plan to immediately come in and see you, and then we had a hitch. Upon investigation of the legal description, I discovered just an abnormality, and when I did some research on it, I found that the legal description for the last 3 transfers all the way back to 1992 has read all that part of Lot 9 and Block 6 that lies north and west of the Indianapolis and Terre Haute traction line. And the property has been transferred with that legal description, again, 3 times since 1992. And when I went to do some research on the old traction line, I found that it cut off an approximate 40-foot by 40-foot by 60-foot triangle, and that's all that lies north and west of the old traction line or interurban that used to run through town. I've got 2 copies of that to show you. I'm going to let you guys share this. 'Cause I didn't
So
bring it up.
you're saying there was a problem with the meets and bounds of the legal description?
There is. And again, ownership of this property has gone from one group to
Right.
another, and now we're on the 3rd transfer that we've researched that has used this legal description to transfer title.
Have to go back 3 owners?
We've gone back 3 owners, That gentleman is deceased. He is a relative of a very well-known member in our town, and the heirs are not willing to sign quitclaim deeds. 2 of the heirs are, and the other one is not. So the new owner, Key Swap Realty, is filing quiet title suit for the entire lot. That probably will take between 90 to 120 days. I don't know what your term limit is, time period between Plan Commission and Town Council, but I wanted you to know why we haven't been back yet.
You have to act within 90 days.
Yeah, but if we don't act, just their recommendation becomes,
Let me look at that up just to confirm.
now help me out here. Where is this triangle on this lot?
It would come right through here. The old interurban came in like this and came up East Harrison Street, and it cuts off that part of the lot right there.
So what are they saying that they own? The bigger half or that smaller half?
The owner, I'm not going to mention any names.
No, what does Key Swap show that they own? Just the little triangle, or do they own the bigger part?
The IS system shows the bigger part. It also showed that the predecessor in title owned the bigger part, and the predecessor, their predecessor, owned the bigger part. And in fact, the family that owned this lot rented out the house and the garage that used to sit on it for more than 25 years.
John, are you talking about 136 or the one next to it, or both?
The northwest corner of Lot 36 is what has actually been described.
And can you show that to me on this? There's a lot of it.
Yes.
It's busy,
Yeah,
super busy.
this right here, this little section right, and if you look at it closely there, see the box with the X in it, that shows that there was an old building. There was an old building there.
Here's the
That
railroad.
drawing is dated 1901.
See how this railroad goes through the corner? It goes through the corner.
It's dated 1902.
And the legal description has been recorded over and over again wrong, and nobody caught it until he looked at it. So he's trying to
He
correct.
didn't hear us.
So John, how much of that is off right through here?
So does the zoning go into effect after 90 days?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Is this a rezone map change?
Well, we want it to be. If we get this solved, we come back to town council and ask you to act on the issue that the plan commission recommended with a 5-0 vote for favorable rezone from I-2 to R2.
You have to act within 90 days. The ordinance takes effect as if it has been adopted as certified 90 days after certification.
So my question and reason
You do
for
nothing, it's-
coming in tonight was because of that. I wouldn't have taken your time, but I thought we had a time limit coming up soon.
And as a courtesy, you're saying, hey,
No, we sure would like to have an extension because it's kind of an issue of
well, if we don't.
no
do it-
variance.
No, you can't grant an
No
extension to a
change.
state law.
But if-
No.
But if we don't
That's
act
why
on
you're
it-
here.
If we don't act on it, and you said it was a favorable recommendation, then
It's
it's
approved.
rezoned.
It's
Yeah.
rezoned. If they do nothing,
Would he have to come back to rezone the sliver, the triangle?
whatever
Does nothing.
if this body does nothing, if the legislative body fails to act on the proposal within 90 days after certification,
Okay.
the ordinance takes effect as if it had been adopted as certified 90 days after certification.
Okay.
So you said it was May
It was May 13th.
13th, so roughly 90 days after that, which is like in a week.
So if you like the project and you approve of the
But it's you're
of the
right.
R2 zoning, would you please fail to act?
It's the legal that was provided.
Yeah.
You may have to
got a problem, don't
start
they?
over with the little sliver.
Understand.
I'd keep it industrial.
You know, it sat there industrial for a while, and I think that the previous owner thought that one of those businesses would act on that, but they didn't.
So you could just withdraw this. And
Yeah, I'm here for
And they do
advice.
nothing.
I am here for advice, if that's what you,
Or as a courtesy, you can let them vote and they can vote in favor or they can reject it.
In that law, does he have to who puts it on our agenda from the planning commission? Or does it just, is
Planning
that up to
commission.
us? So the
Plan Commission certifies it and it's supposed to be on the first next meeting afterwards unless a continuance is sought.
and we did.
Okay, so then it would be up to him.
up to him. So does the continuance, if he sought a continuance already, then does that null and void the 90 days?
That is not covered in this statute.
That's why we ask you.
We have no rules of procedure.
If you
Says
built
that
a
the
structure,
legislative
would
body
it
fails to
go
act,
over
so I
that
would
little
say that
triangle?
It would be within our responsibility to
In other
ensure
words,
You know,
calendar within
the
90 days.
position that
If
he
he
is
asks for
in
continuance.
right now is to
This would
file
be his
quiet
last
title
talk.
suit against the world, basically. Notification to the public, et cetera. Until then, he really truly has only closed and owns the northwest corner of the property.
so he
Or-
can't build across that corner because it's not his.
Maybe he didn't. and then
Problem
he
is
did
that
it, and if she did it,
legally
it was
it's
smart for her to put it
title
in
is
because this is
transferred
the
in
law.
that way
Could have been
for,
on- it could have been-
since at least 1992, but I expect that if we go back further,
It's, yeah,
I would almost bet that it's been probably since 1900s.
yeah, and you're never
Well,
gonna
just until I put
get the signatures from people who are deceased.
Had two of them, couldn't get the third one.
Yeah, the heirs.
Yep, a quick claim deed would have solved the problem. Sorry.
That's why I asked
If they were to build something, it probably wouldn't meet the setback on this, would it? If that triangle.
It just says after 90 days.
That's uncharted waters.
Parentheses,
I don't
or
think-
any subsequent meeting within the 90-day period.
On a piece,
See one, you, what do we do? Reject it?
Oh,
Do you want to start over? Which is easier?
I wanted her opinion on it, really, and I think we've got it. I don't think we really have any choice.
what if we ask for continuance, we take.
If we reject it though, is there a time limit on when you can bring it back?
A year, isn't it?
Just thought of that.
It's a legal description that was
It's
presented
not correct.
is not correct.
I know, but it's the legal that's been presented.
That was
He's gonna have to-
published, et cetera.
He's going to have to start over on that little sliver. He has to go back to Plan Commission.
Actually, if I can, I think we're going to have to start over on the large part because we actually presented the legal description as written, and it describes that part that lies north. It is the sliver.
Okay. He has to represent something.
Yeah, but if we deny it, that if we say that we do not accept the recommendation from the planning commission, then he's set for a year.
Yeah.
He has it set for a year before he does that.
Yeah.
If we accept it or do nothing, then he just has to represent it as a correct legal description. So you've described the little triangle.
Yes.
So we can go ahead and put that R2, and you can take that back to the BZA and say, I need setback everywhere, because R2 is not going to fit in that.
I think, I agree. We can do the R2 and allow the zoning to go through for that part. And you're all knowing that you really haven't approved anything that has any real effect because you can't build on, and he doesn't want to build until he gets his problem solved. And then come back with another effort with the legal description for the majority of the lot. Seems to me the only way to go.
What a pain.
Yeah, I mean, it's too bad, but
Shame on you for doing your job and
Well.
researching that.
wish I'd have caught it about
April?
6 weeks earlier than I did,
Well, how many title companies and people didn't catch that, and
right?
attorneys or whoever prepared the deeds? Always the attorneys.
I don't do.
I appreciate that, and I think we understand that is what we need to do with that 90-day. We're just not gonna make the 90-day window.
And at that point in time, that little sliver becomes R2, but you can't build on it because nothing will fit.
Right.
So then he has to come back on that. But who owns that? If they've not, if someone else owns it and you're trying to quitclaim it, can he even request a rezone on someone else's property?
No, the
No.
quiet title would have to be successful first.
Which may take a year anyway.
No.
Yeah, I said 90 to 120, and that's very
That
optimistic.
is very
But
optimistic.
what I'm saying is if the rezone request was on this little triangle, and by the deed, he doesn't own it, it would be no different than me trying to rezone his
No,
property.
but by the deed, he does own it. That is the part that he actually took title to.
Oh,
because-
just that little
Yes,
piece.
doesn't
because it is the part that's north and west of the old traction line.
This is the only section you're voting on.
Or not voting.
It's a
Or not
title
voting
issue.
on.
Yeah, it is. Yep. You know,
They
and
have an
I don't
insured
like to be
closing?
self-serving, but if they'd had a survey done, it would have never happened.
Did he have an insured closing?
Then
Yeah.
it approves.
Can they do anything?
Favorable
I don't wanna
recommendation
jump
would
in on
stand
that.
within 90 days on day 91.
Right now, there's a small triangle somewhere that's wanting to be rezoned to R2. However, no R2 can be built on it because of building standards.
Yeah.
We have three options before us. Not accept the favorable recommendation from the planning commission. Second one is to accept the favorable recommendation and rezone that small parcel. The third option is to do nothing, and in 90 days from the last planning commission, or from the May planning commission meeting, that small parcel becomes R2 with or without us. We're not as important as we thought we were.
Well, if we reject it, it puts him on a time clock that he doesn't want.
Yeah,
That doesn't make sense
Yeah.
anyway in this situation, so. Do you actually table it?
If we table it, then it
keeps-
automatically comes
Just
up.
don't do anything.
If no one makes a motion for it, then it settles into R2.
On day 91.
IC code.
It would be R2.
What would you recommend?
Next participant.
I don't know why you wouldn't vote. It's for you.
Just vote to approve? That's what I would do.
I can't tell you that.
Well, I would
But-
vote to approve, but.
Is that a
that's-
motion?
Yes, I'll make the motion to, let's see.
Do you see what we're trying to do, John?
I
We're trying
absolutely
to
do,
help.
and I appreciate it.
Motion has been made and seconded to accept the planning commission's favorable recommendation. All in favor?
Thank you very much.
Didn't expect that, did you?
Present this to Plan Commission. That will be so fun to watch you do
Just one of
that.
those nights, guys.
Yes, it is.
That is a weird situation.
It is.
Thank you very much.
Roberson Woods speed limit signs. Is there someone here from Roberson Woods? There is.
I'm Mark Thompson. I live at 1265 Robertson Boulevard, or Lane, in Robertson Woods. Part of the Robertson Woods HOA, Vice President. We'd like to thank you for this time to talk, discuss, and request the speed limit signs in our neighborhood. We'd also like to take this time to thank the town for the street repavement and the sidewalk upgrades and all the repairs. The good news is the sidewalks and streets look great. Our walkers, bike riders, skateboarders are really enjoying the smooth surfaces. Our community has always had an issue with speeding on our streets, and the bad news is now with the new surfaces, they've increased, along with our pedestrian, bicycle, and skateboard use. Yes, some of our own homeowners are offenders, as well as the UPS, FedEx, Amazon Prime vehicles pay little to no attention to their speed in the neighborhood. We also have a small daycare in one of the homes in the neighborhood, and the incoming and outgoing traffic seem to be some of our worst offenders, dropping off their kids and picking them up in the morning because they're running behind. My wife and myself have witnessed cars almost running off the road at the intersection of Roberson and Rosewood Lanes because of speed and inattention. At times, they are traveling fast enough down Rosewood that they lean their bodies in their cars in order to make the corner. We have flagged down the UPS and FedEx trucks to tell them to slow down, only to have them speed up faster when they drive away from us. We have approached our neighbors about speeding. They brush it aside and tell us they're within the speed limit. We understand the state and the city have guidelines as to speed limits, whether they are posted or not, and that those speed limits can be enforced without signs. We also understand the state and city have procedures, guidelines, and steps they need to take to establish those speed limits. And we have found that 30 miles per hour has been set as the base speed for residential areas within Indiana. During much of our discussion in the neighborhood, some of us discuss what could be an appropriate speed, being that the neighborhood is not a pass-through neighborhood. We don't have into the neighborhood and out of the neighborhood. If you come in one way, you got to go out that way. It's a loop. Our good friend and neighbor, Mr. Jeff Fleener, described his impressions very well for speeds. 20 mile per hour seemed to be a little slow to travel through the neighborhood. But as he approached 25 mile per hour, 23 to 25 seemed very comfortable and safe speed. As he hit 30, he literally seemed to be flying, he said. The conditions of the short streets, the short line of sights, our longest straightaways are less than 1/10 of a mile. Now the tree lines, the hill rises, 30 mile an hour seems pretty quick. Many agreed with his findings, and since the neighborhood is not open to pass-through traffic, a lot of us feel 25 would be just about right. Plus the fact those that want to drive over the limit would possibly still be slower than their present speeds. So we have a couple requests this evening for the council. We'd like to request the city look into installing speed limit signs in Roberson Woods, and we'd like to kind of challenge the base speed limits and see if we can't get 25 mile per hour for Roberson Woods. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Comments or questions?
Are there no speed limit signs now at all, anywhere in the addition?
At one time, we thought there were, but we can't find any pictures or...
Okay.
If I don't know that we have any speed limit signs in any of our additions.
I've gotten the same complaint about the North Edition, or Bob Dunn Edition, or the New Edition, whatever you call it. New Edition. I've gotten a similar complaint that there's no signs there. Why is that?
I think most of the time, or past answers have been exactly what you said. Every one of us answers that question on a driving exam. What is the speed limit in the state of Indiana residential edition? So it's 30 mile an hour. We had to pass that to get our driver's license. Now, sometimes we forget, obviously, but it seemed when it was a state statute and putting the signs up in the past, because it is common knowledge, there's no question as to that it's more or less than that. They didn't put signs anywhere because of the expense of the signs. Because Every now and then you get someone that says, I don't want that sign in my yard or in my planting strip. So I think in the past, historically, the town of Mooresville has just not put any signs up there. They've not lowered the speed limits in most of the additions, mainly because once you go lower, which you can go less than the state approved. You just can't go higher. You can go more strict, but you can't go less strict. But at that point in time, then we, the taxpayers of Mooresville, would have to have a prosecuting attorney or anyone to defend that at our courts if a police officer writes that. So I think that's one of the reasons why they haven't done that historically in the past. The arbitrarily just lowering it because what we think, we're learning that with our traffic study that we're doing now. There's things that seem pretty obvious to us that the traffic company that we've paid pretty well to do that says, no, that doesn't match. That doesn't go with what you want to. In a lot of subdivisions, sometimes they'll say, let's just put some stop signs there. And you can't use a stop sign to slow traffic or, because then you get into, why did I hit that guy in the rear end? There shouldn't have been a traffic stop sign there to begin with. I think usually when we get the complaint, one of the first things that we've done in the past is we've drug our trailer out there, and I think it's either repaired or being repaired. Then we've always asked our police department to, just like what you said, in the mornings or in the evenings when that daycare is coming and going, maybe a few extra patrols. I think, Jeff, you've probably been put on a few of those yourself.
Right. Have you called our police for extra patrols?
I've actually talked to one of the officers, actually both the two reserve officers, that just happened to come to the neighborhood at the time. I don't know if they did, but they did inform me that they were going to send out an email letting them try to pick up some patrols. In all honesty, I don't know how much it's helping because I think the other issue they run into is, again, technically the posted speed limit is 30 miles an hour. So in my history is a lot of officers, if you're not doing more than, at least 6-7 mile an hour speed limit, a lot of times they still won't do anything. Well, that means you got cars in our neighborhood now that are going 35, 36, 37 mile an hour. What do we do? It doesn't seem to be helping.
Have you talked to the meetings or sent flyers out to your residents? Because most of them live there, minus the FedEx trucks and all that.
I've talked to a handful of them, and I get the reply back is, well, technically it's 30 miles an hour. I've got a little 2-year-old. She gets hit 30 mile an hour on that road, she's probably gone.
The state statutes mention 30 mile an hour for residential, they say 55 for 2-lane highways, they say 65 for, or I think 70 now for 4-lane. But they also leave a little caveat at the bottom that says that this is what we believe in and this is what we're going to enforce. But if you're running 65 mile an hour and it's cold and it's dark and it's raining, the police have some leeway here. They will give you a ticket if you're running 65 and it's snow covered. Conditions don't warrant, they can reduce the speed limit. And so that's one of our thought processes, is that the conditions in the neighborhood, with the short sight lines, the short streets, the tree-lined streets, and the pedestrian traffic, that 30 is fast for the conditions, which gives us a leeway to argue the statute is just solid 30 everywhere you go.
Well, I agree with you as far as, people don't think of that stuff. They don't, and maybe when I was 16, I didn't think of that until I had kids. And it's sad because at 30 mile an hour, at 20 mile an hour, at 15 mile an hour, it doesn't matter. They have to be attentive and in control of their vehicle. Yeah.
I was gonna say, there's a couple that are the younger, but for the most part, it is. It's the FedEx guy. It's the older people that are driving through there.
See, those should be GPS monitored, so you can call the company, file a complaint, get a truck number. They should be able to pull that speed up and maybe address that internally,
Problem is, I don't think it's
Yeah.
going anywhere. At least it hasn't.
Well, and you never know, because I don't think they'll release what they did to their employee, but I know they are big on safety, so I know they'll address the problem. we'll get with our police chief, if we can get some active officers out there, no breaks, be seen, start issuing paper, you know, it's gonna make some people mad, you know, so.
Couldn't you put a couple speed limit signs at the entrance of the subdivision?
Yeah, but they would say 30.
They would, but I mean, there's nothing there now. The ordinance is already in place, the law is already established that it's 30, so you could just put them up, couldn't you? You don't need to pass another ordinance to do that, do you?
Yeah, but that's fine, again, how much is all? What we're getting at is, we feel that
Right.
living in the neighborhood, 30 feet max.
Right, one of his complaints though was that there was no signs at all, so at least you could do that without having to have a traffic study and pass a new ordinance and all of that.
That's what the law says. Except
Mm. They go 45 on Bridge Street. I know.
Probably go 40 in our neighborhood.
Yeah. Oh, I believe you. They do it all over town.
We basically just want to try to help the process start and see whatever we can try to help slow progress down. We tried bringing it up the neighborhood into the community, and we either get, you know, shrug of shoulders, don't care, or they come back with, well, this is the speed limit, so it's okay.
And one thing about the signs and patrols, visual of the patrols, visual of the stop sign, visuals of going through installing the stop signs. You know, that would send a little bit of a message that, hey,
Speed limit sign.
attitudes have changed in the neighborhood here. We now have increased police patrols. They've took time to put the speed limit signs up. Somebody's wanting us to slow down. Of course, that may wear off, but, you know, hopefully we can start somewhere.
Yeah.
Evan, is the speed limit sign or the speed sign, is it up and running?
There's a circuit board that is out for repair right now. We're waiting for it to come back.
Any time frame?
Don't have a time frame. He worked on the sign for approximately 3 hours trying to figure out what was wrong. So they figured out finally they had to send the circuit board back for repair. But we've not heard anything back since then. And I know Captain Gaines has talked to the guy, gentleman, that is actually repairing the sign a couple times. He has not got that circuit board back.
Do we have any handheld radars?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we
Well, I mean, driving the billboards, it's hard to hide, you know, so, and we don't have any unmarked cars, so.
That's what we need.
We could deputize one of them.
We could.
You can gladly park one in the driveway, in the garage, while you sit out the driveway and radar.
You can sit in our yard, we're on the corner, you can get them going both ways.
Jeff, do you want to direct, do you want to try it?
Yeah, I think chief volunteer, we're gonna start proactive enforcement out there to let the people know. If they start issuing paper, that's gonna be on them, so. And I think the, visibility of the lights and seeing some activity out there, maybe they'll know it's serious, and hopefully it slows it down for a while, and we'll try to stay on it, so.
Thank you.
Okay.
When the trailer gets back, we'll get it out there too,
Sure.
because that seems to do a real good job of getting people's attention.
Against the visual,
Yeah.
proactive about something.
And then, and the other thing that does is a little bit of a traffic study for us to where we can provide that information to you for your next homeowner association, because it'll document coming, going, how fast, how slow, and everything. And you have proof then that you can say, guys, this isn't, if there's 100 cars speeding, it's 100 cars that are coming in and out of here. It's a destination, it's not a thoroughfare.
Yeah, it records the data. Right.
No, you have to stay. Just watch your speed as you leave, okay?
I'm not driving.
Appreciate it.
Let us know if there's more problems. We'll stay on top of it, so.
Mark.
I didn't do it. You didn't make it out.
Okay.
If-
I would have known we could leave.
If I leave now, can we just end this? I'm saying that there won't be a quorum. Legal?
Well, the next three should be quick. Sit down.
Yes, ma'am.
Never seen that.
You want me to start or wait till they come back?
She told me to sit down. I tried to leave to end this meeting.
Dustin,
so-
just make a motion to adjourn.
Hey, that's true. Boy, you're in trouble now.
We could adjourn it. What are they doing?
What's
What
the
are they
old
doing?
filing of grievances?
5-minute break.
Festivus, airing of grievances. Anybody have any birthdays or anything coming up? See? Happy birthday.
This one, Brown Township, They're talking about reckless speed, West Harrison Street. I'm not worried about West
Me neither. I've attended a lot of meetings. Not as many as Tom has, though.
I've noticed it's
Dustin has
everywhere.
last.
I think, have you noticed the amount of wrecks there are? They're going too fast.
I am dying.
We can put that thing over there
I
then.
have to go to the bathroom so bad.
Hey, remind me.
No, we're gonna get through this. We're pushing through.
Okay.
If I could do all mine at once, it'd be cool, and they're real quick.
Johnson Controls we're not doing, right?
Correct, we're waiting on a quote from Lions. They're supposed to come tomorrow, I'll get you a quote, and I'll send it to legal as soon as I have it. The VAPAR agreement, again, it's under legal review. We've sent something to them for, Beth has reached out to them, and they're gonna get back with you with the verbiage that you wanted in that.
Yep, Krista Arbuckle is out of the office until the 9th.
And that's the same with Federal Signal also.
Yes, but Wendy has already responded to me.
And the only other two things I have, the AES contract, which is under legal, we're still waiting for their contract with the changes in it.
I emailed it to Diana, so,
Did AES contact you and get that back to you, or? Because I sent them your guys' changes that they needed to do in that AES, what's agreement.
oh, no, I did not know that. So I redid all of it.
That was for Federal Signal, I thought.
No, AES was the one, isn't AES the one that's with Monrovia?
Yeah, they're doing the change.
Yeah,
So
so-
there's another one that I need to send to them
No, it was the document that was discussed at the last meeting,
with Chul.
right? That there was a
Two changes
typo.
that they wanted.
Correct,
And I
there
sent
was
that
a-
to them to be changed.
Okay, that was the part that I did not know.
Okay.
I went ahead and made the change
Uh-huh.
and have it available for y'all to sign tonight.
Okay, that's fine with me. But I'll have to send it to
But
them because their legal has to sign it too.
Yeah, I would assume that now Indianapolis Power and Light wants to review it again.
AES.
Yes, doing business as AES, yes. And I don't know if Monrovia has looked at this at all.
I have no idea either. I'm assuming possibly that he's wanting me to make contact with Monrovia, so that's probably what I will have to do.
Our changes, I made one change. I said that Mooresville has control of Mooresville property, not Monrovia has
And
control
they
of.
had, I think, 5 sirens instead of 3, which we only have 3.
And I changed that.
Okay.
Do all of us have to sign that, or is that for just the president to sign? Because we've already approved it pending the changes,
Just him.
so there's no action to be taken on that, right?
Not if you already approved it.
We already approved it pending those changes.
I apologize.
That's okay, I'm on top of it, chief. I'm trying to get stuff done for you.
The only other thing I have is our final officer will be sworn in on the 16th here at 9 o'clock, I believe we scheduled it. Is that correct, Diana? Other than that, I have anything else unless you have questions.
We have one in the academy now.
No, we have 3 in the academy right
Brady
now.
Academy, what are they doing? Are they suspended right now, or?
They closed the academy last week. Right now, they're on a kind of like a week hiatus. We just have them doing stuff at the PD. They're going to go back on the 9th, and they're going to do 2 weeks of distance learning at the police department, and then they'll do their breakout weeks. And I think they got a week between the breakout weeks, and they're supposed to graduate on the 20th. But they're going to be extending their hours. They're going to be 12-hour days for their distance learning to catch them up.
They don't know how lucky they are?
Department heads. Kevin, you were good, right? The other, Matt? Report? Dave?
AES contract we just signed.
Fact. The Ferguson Road annexation, the documentation I sent to Diana today to send to Mrs. Benoit, is that how you say her name? So she has to complete the petition and return it, and once we do that, then the ball is rolling on the annexation, and the ordinance has been already drafted, so it just needs to be presented to you all, and then I think we have to wait 45 days before you can have your second reading on it. The Miller Pipeline contract, I brought that, that's you, right? I brought that, there's some provisions that have to be included because we're a governmental agency. We have to have non-discrimination, e-verify, and non-appropriation provisions. So I wrote out what they need in here. I've never had anyone contest this, but I don't have a contact. Do you want to give it to? And pending that they will accept the inclusion of these 6 provisions, or they can call me, but I can't fathom that they're going to have any problem with it. That would be finalized. And the only other thing from legal is the engagement letter that was brought this evening to begin meetings for the fire territory, the conversations about consolidating with Brown Township.
They said that they would, because we've got our rewards card full, it's been stamped 9 times. Now that we've engaged them to the 10th time, it is free. Is that right?
Coupons.
Coupons. This is
My children like to eat.
there you go. This is a standard engagement letter. The billing rate, 310. Is that yours?
Yes,
Is at?
No.
No.
325. My normal bill rate's 430, so we reduced it to 325.
Beth will be the primary responsible for the day-to-day work on this, and her hourly rate will be reduced to $3.25 an hour. I guess it's something that has been asked about for the past 700 years in the town of Mooresville since fire was invented. Do we want to move forward with this?
Motion to move forward with Taft's engagement letter at $3.25 an hour.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Dustin and Greg, 5-0.
No, I'm gonna get a giving moon now. You made me stay and not run out of the meeting.
Nothing else from legal.
Public comments? Anyone? No one. Motion for approval of payment of claims.
Motion to approve claims in the amount of $320,682.69.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Greg, Dustin, 5-0. Town council comments.
I've done.
Dane?
Just that when when we do our budgeting, I brought it up last time, I'd like to see a public workshop. And also, I've had a lot of people contact me about a police K-9 program. And I think we should, if we're gonna have a K-9 program, I think we should take it seriously and fund it. And I would propose 20,000 for that, for our budgeting cycle. So I want it on the record that I said that, and, I don't know what your general fund discussion's gonna be about, but, I'd like that to be considered in the overall budget picture. And that's all I have.
Greg? Dustin?
Attended Ready Grant workshops, as monotonous as 8 hours of grant hearings are. We're teaming up, I say we, Mooresville's trying to team up with Martinsville and Morgan County and 5 other counties to go after some grants. So just wanted to give the council that information that we are trying to go get some larger grants. So it's my Fridays now.
Sounds like you have fun with them.
I promise I do not.
Okay.
Gentlemen, we talked about maybe later in the year, welcome to later in the year, discussions on what we can do with our cash reserve. We've been fortunate enough to have a pretty large cash reserve in the past. It's built up over the past 5 years quite a bit. I briefly touched on some of these in a previous meeting.
Yeah.
If you want to take a look at these, and we don't have to act on them tonight by any means, but one thing that I'd like to say is this kind of moves money around to the point of allowing us for, Shane, you said something about the funding the K-9 unit, and last year we had a balanced budget. And each one of the department heads needed every dime that they had. So to say, okay, we need to find $20,000 in there, it kind of puts a damper on the department heads saying, okay, if you want that $20,000, what can you give up?
We had a $711,000 surplus last year.
Well,
Actual surplus.
okay, this will free up continuous money. And you said, I think, permanent, $20,000. What it would mean would be,
I went a one-time so they can buy a dog and do it the right way instead of trying to rely on donations and donated puppies.
I apologize. I thought you were talking about funding it every year.
I think there should be a line item for it though, where we can discuss, each budget cycle, you can see where you're at with it, but, if you have a K-9 program, you're dealing with an animal, a life, someone that's, even though it's a dog, it's risking its life, it's doing things that policemen do, and it should be treated well. And I think relying on donations is nice, when you can, but if you're gonna have a K-9, which I think a lot of people want a K-9, at least that's been my perception of the number of people who've commented to me, then you do it the right way. That's just my opinion on it. I'm one of 5, but I think it's a joke to say we don't have the money when we had a $711,000 surplus just in 1 year, and there was 700 and some thousand the year before. What do we have, about 4.5 million now? We can't afford 20,000? I just disagree with that. There's got to be a way to do some things. I think she projected another 200 and some thousand for 2021. Then we have the 318,000 we got from COVID, the COVID relief. Then we've got another 1.1 million that just came in last week or so, and another 1.1 million coming in. I mean, I think the time to act like the town has no money is over. I mean, I think the town has more money than it's ever had. And I think that's fine, but I mean, at some point, I think you provide the services to the people, or you're overtaxing them.
Sure.
It's kind of a personal subject for this, and I fully support it completely. Sorry. Most people know me. This is one thing that I've wanted to come in for, especially. I'm Les. Most of you guys know me from the studio over here. My cousin, my baby cousin, was Deputy Jake Pickett. He was killed in Lebanon a couple of years ago. K-9 officer. K-9s are invaluable to our town. I mean, completely. Especially with their training they have, it will be worth the 20. If you look at just the construction that we have going on alone with the reroute of 69, 65, drug traffic alone through here is going to be through the roof because they're diverting a lot of that traffic through here. So K-9s, I mean, it'd be just the crime stopping ability, the additional tool that the police force has. One's great, two's better, but if we could get one, it'd be awesome. We're doing a fundraiser for it, using the street festival here. We've got almost $600-700 raised so far. I know it's not a lot, but a lot of the small businesses are jumping in and doing it too. And a lot of the people that we've talked to are all in the same impression. They want a K-9 officer. And it's one thing that, I think it'd be great for public safety. I know a lot of my people that are with us do too. And I'm kind of behind Shane with that one too. I mean, I don't know the budget, I haven't seen it, but I mean, compared the 20,000 compared to what the investment compared to what it could do for the town safety as far as that, it's invaluable. I mean, 20,000 is kind of a steep number, but they're worth it. And if we have the budget to do it, it'd be a great time to do it now. I mean, because it's only going to get worse. And I just think they're an invaluable tool. I mean, we've seen, just from experience, most of my family's been in the police department up north, and being around Jake and seeing how they interact, and it's invaluable. I mean, when he lost his life, it was a tragedy, and it was an even bigger tragedy to the community, because without them out there, they took a huge hit. So, and we don't have one at all. So, I think it'd be a good time to maybe consider it and put it in there and ongoing. If it's something we can do to help, we'd be happy to help. But I think it'd be great. I mean, just me personally. That's why I came up here tonight. I support these guys, support Shane on this, and I think it'd be awesome if we could get it done.
I don't think anybody up here disagrees. I disagree that we gave one away. We gave one away. It went with the officer to IMPD. I think it should have stayed in the police force, but that's a fight for another time. I like fundraising. I don't know why.
I think they had that dog medically retired.
Is that before it got out?
Pardon me?
The Hester
Oh,
dog?
I agree. But I think
I think it should have stayed here, myself.
My name is Dawn Horrock, and I am a Mooresville resident. I live out on Kitchen Road. I also want to talk about the funding for the police dog. We are still a small community, but it's time that I believe that it's a useful tool. It can save officers' lives. It can save, your kid, mine. I would like to see it in the budget. I'd be happy to get, there's not many people here to represent every citizen. I'd be happy to get out and get names in a petition, if that's what you need to get it in a budget. Because not everybody has the time to come to a meeting. I don't work, so I do. But I also would have the free time to go out and solicit everybody that would be interested in seeing their tax dollars be used for something they actually would like, that's not marking cemeteries. I mean, it's a live animal. It's there to benefit us. But, those handlers, they really make a commitment to us and to that dog and all the training And the time that they do that, that's not on the books. There's a lot that they do, and they house the dog at night. You know, they know what to look for if that dog's off. But I really would like to see it in the budget. I would love to see seed money given from the COVID funds to put in their budget to start it. Dogs aren't cheap, and they're not even talking about getting a fully trained dog. They're talking about getting a young dog and training it to, you know, you could be talking like $100,000, you know, that a lot of other police departments would buy a fully trained dog, and they're not asking for that. But I think within that budget, there needs to be money put aside every year, because it's a dog, it's a living thing. Somebody could shoot it, you know. You have to have money set aside to start replacing a dog, because it's only going to have so much of a life.
And that's why we went from 3 to 0, because there's no
Yeah.
continuation.
And that, you know, I mean, it's realistic. You need money to be able to purchase a dog. So you can either pony it up all at once and then bitch about it, sorry, or put some money to where it accumulates every year, so it's not a big hit all at once. But the other thing I would like to see too, because of the current dog they have that is now retired because he's hurt, the town just totally says it's all on the handler now. Any costs, medical costs, medicine, whatever, is on that handler. And while I don't expect the police department or their budget or whatever to just go to an extreme measure, I do think it would be nice to have maybe the handler, a police chief, and maybe a board member, something to discuss, something that's reasonable, that's not extreme, but to help offset some of the costs, because that dog really could benefit from like having treadmill water therapy. There's not a lot of places that have that here, and a lot of it's done at high-tech vets, and it's pretty expensive. But there's different things, and I'm going to try and look into finding some places. I'm involved in Bloomington, Indiana Kennel Club. I'm also involved with the English Springer Spaniel Field Trial Association. So I have a lot of contacts in dogs. But I'm going to try and find some resources for the current dog that is just retired. But I would be happy to do whatever to show you that Mooresville residents do back this. And if you want petitions, you know, signs, signatures, I'll do that. But I really would like to see it. And I know a lot of other residents would too. And that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I bring that up. I'm not saying I'm against all your ideas here, you know, but basically it looks to me like you're wanting to transfer $2,264,079 to pay off debt, so the fire truck and dispatch, and then almost $789,000 to the rainy day, which that's not really spending that money, it's just moving it. $325,000 to health insurance. And then we still, if we do everything you've mentioned here, we still would have $2,352,221 in the cash reserve at the end of 2021, and that equates to a 45% of the operating budget, which I think our financial advisor recommends 25% there. So that's how much money we have, and this is not talking about the COVID funds. This is just how much cash we have. So I don't know why we can't afford to buy a dog, you know. I'm not saying I'm against all of this or any of this right now. I'm thinking about it, but, you know,
Okay, Shane, you've said that. Does any of the council want me to go over this, or do you all want to adjourn? Because there's more to this than handing it to you and having you go over it and have no idea what the plans are.
You can do what you want. You
They're your
brought it.
comments, go ahead.
Yeah, that's right, Jeff. You're perfectly right there. If we pay off the dispatch equipment and the
I
fire
would like to
equipment-
point out that you referred to me during your comments, so I didn't interrupt your comments. You referred to me about the dog. I'd just like to point that out. So go ahead with your comments and stop trying to snipe where there's no snipe to be had. Go.
If we do this, and I want to address you because hopefully you'll understand the thought process here. Because we could free up the money that we're paying right now on the dispatch equipment, that we're paying out of Lowit, we could take some of those funds can only be spent on public safety. So we could take some of the expenses that are in the police departments, whether it's part of the pension, part of their insurance, slide it over into that Lowit and free up a permanent solution to funding a dog.
So you're saying cut part of their insurance or cut
No,
part of their...
fund it from another source, from the local option income tax. Right now, with that money, we are paying $91,000 a year on payments for dispatch equipment. When we moved the police department down to the building that they're in now, we bought all new dispatch equipment. We didn't have enough money the taxpayers didn't have enough money to buy it all, so we bought it on time. Now we have enough money.
Save by paying that off.
We pay that off, then we can take other expenses in the police department and pay those with that Lowit fund, local optional income tax, it's public safety. Then that frees up money within the budget to do a K-9 unit and permanently fund it, not one time, and permanently fund it, just like what you said. It also would free up $103,000 a year out of our CCD fund, our Cumulative Capital Development Fund, and that can be used for anything within the town. We've talked about needing dump trucks. We've talked about, we could fund, and I don't mean this bad, but we could fund the cemetery projects with stuff like that. Anything, the CCD can be used for any town expense. The other part of it is, the state of Indiana says that we can transfer up to 10% of our approved budget out of our reserve into our rainy day fund. And that is moving it from our checking account to our savings account in case we do have problems. The other side of it is, and where I had on the transfer the funds to the health insurance fund, and Jeff, bear with me here because I know I'm taking some tools away from you here.
Oh, you're fine.
If we would fund that $325,000 into the health insurance fund, and I want to stipulate, and the town employees continue to work with you the way they have, starting the first of the year. Work with us.
You too.
Yeah. Starting the first of the year with that funding, that would offset, and we could offer, and I don't know if any other community's done this or not, we talked about bonuses and a way to reward them. We could offer zero-cost health insurance to all of our employees. No weekly, or no paycheck deductions, and no deductibles. True zero cost for our employees. That would fund it for 2 years. Between that and the money we would save on the prescriptions like you're working on, we could fund it for 2 years. I think that would put us head and shoulders above other communities and saying we're trying as hard as we can to take care of our employees.
But then what happens the next year when you charge them for insurance?
I said we fund it for 2 years. I said 2 years that I know that this will fund it for, and then we can continue to see if we can do that every year. If the program works that Jeff and I have been working on, and that the full council approved on the prescriptions. And Dean didn't, I hadn't said nothing to Dean, but Dean said that could save us about $300,000
Right.
a year. We could fund it ourselves, perpetual. Now, I'm not saying that the insurance has been expensive for the town employees, but it does show them that this could be zero. Would that help us attract?
What is one single person's, what do they pay like per week?
Our family plan is $22.50 a paycheck, so $45 a month gets you a family plan, which is really good, with a $500 deductible.
With a 5,000 something dollar.
Yeah, so we're,
And this would wipe out their payroll deduction and their deductible. It's just a thought. And like I said, these are just ideas. I promised that I would do that. It frees up funding for public safety. Now, I think in all fairness, if we say we're going to free up the Lowit fund, we would probably want Chief Dalton and Chief Julian to figure that out on a 50-50 or a 51-49% basis. But it does give us some things to do there. We talked about last year when we moved some monies around to fund raises. We took away cars, and we knew we were going to take away cars for a couple years. But this could get us back into a position where we could start funding cars again. So I appreciate you letting me take the time to express those ideas. I know that you made the comment that, we've lost some good officers and we've lost some good employees. I think this hopefully will retain them and let them know that this council is trying to help them. And I also think that it would go a long ways towards recruiting people. If they say, their pay might not be what the bright lights and big smoke is, but the benefits are really good. That's my thoughts. Next meeting date is Tuesday, August 17th. You guys want to have it here? 6:30?
Please
I
do.
need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion been made. Do I have a second? Second. Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
we might have to start moving these up to 5. Find a way to get to
Adam moves to a lot.
There's money.
You know me, I hate begging. I've always been against it.
I wanted the public to hear.
That's what I've done for 3 or 4
How much
companies now.
money they're-
AIM drafted one for everybody to sign.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.